childhood, our sordid pasts, what happened to make Cray the man he is today. We're going to learn.
Yeah.
We're gonna learn. I'm Fruity. I'm Loserfruit, and this is Crayator. And we're YouTubers and that. And I have to say that most YouTubers I know have pretty plain backstories to them. Like most of them come from pretty well families, or some people
Middle class, kind of like well-to-do families a lot of the time. Yeah.
And then they just streamed at they did videos in their parents' place until they moved out, and that's it. Like there's no like super big drama you ever hear about. However, Cray, I don't know if he's bragging or not, or what he's talking about, but he's always bringing up the fact that he's from the hood. He's from. He's always like gang signs.
Okay, that's a
gang.
meme. That's a meme. I have to admit, that's a full meme. I'm not actually from the hood. I don't think we really have hoods in Australia. We don't. I was actually talking the other day to a friend, and I said each side of poor and rich in America is to such a different degree than Australia. Like here in Australia, if you're poor, we have government benefits, Centrelink, you get housing, you can get free housing. So there's a lot of different things you can do. And most of my family are from free housing. So, yeah.
But in other words, there's not the biggest gap in... like from the outside, it's not maybe the biggest gap in the social.
I mean, there's always a gap in like capitalistic, societies like ours and like the rest of the world. Like there's always a gap, and there's always things that you can't like break through or breach through. It's like there's that famous quote from a news anchor where a man says, I love having super rich people in the world because it always gives you something to look up to and try to grab, right? And some people just need to pull up their socks and become rich. And the woman replies with, what happens if I don't have socks to wear? So that's kind of like what can happen a lot. But yeah.
We don't have like as extreme as America. But Cray, what kind of like area is yours like from? Because I've seen your area. I've seen pictures of the area where you grew up, and it has some beautiful street signs. I don't know if that came in recently or something. Are you lying to me about where you came from?
Yeah. So, do you want? Am I just going to go into my childhood? Do you just want to know like everything? Do you want me to just whip out a story? Like, because I've moved a lot through my life. I've moved a lot. So, I was born in Craigieburn, Victoria. My mum and dad were both mechanics. Kind of struggling with money, like it was tight. My dad was an alcoholic, so we just spent money on alcohol, beer, smokes, and then meat. I know this sounds really weird, but my dad would buy like a lot in meat, like Wagyu meat. Like we were struggling with money, but then he would go and spend all our money on expensive things, like expensive meat. And little things like that, which is just really weird, huh? Really weird. And then from Craigieburn, I moved to a place called Fig Tree in a caravan park, which was a really tough time in my life. It was awful.
How old were you in this?
I was 9 years old when I moved, so I stayed in Victoria till 9, and then I moved up when my grandpa died, and my nan was living alone, and we moved into this place. I shared a bedroom with my brother, my sister, and my nan. And in this tiny little room, I had to share a bed with my brother up until the age of basically, I'd say like 15. I shared a bed with my brother because we didn't have the money to really do anything else.
Really?
Yeah. So I shared a bed with my bro for a long time because we didn't have room in the house. And then... yeah, what else do you want to know? Yeah.
You were always talking about how you got into some... if things went a different way, you would be probably in a very different spot than you are now, like with the people that you hung out with.
Definitely.
Compared to now.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about the people that you hung out with when you were young?
Yeah, so when I when I was young in primary school, I was very badly bullied. And when I moved from primary school to high school, my only friend, Joel, ditched me. So I entered high school. Well, he went to a different school, he didn't ditch me. He went to a different high school than I did in the first week. I have these crazy memories of my first day at high school, walking down the back oval, and there was a fight between this huge monster of a man, 18 years old. I don't really want to dox him, but he had a really interesting name. We'll call him Jason for the sake of it. But, and I remember walking out on the back oval and seeing this man, like, he was a man to me, like I'm young and this guy's 18 and he's got blood on his hands and there's a guy on the floor in front of me and teachers are yelling and screaming and everyone's like, yeah, yelling and screaming. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm shitting my pants. So for the first year of high school, I knew a Portuguese boy named Adam, and he let me hang around with his crew for a while, and it kind of stopped me from being bullied in high school for the first year. And then in the second year, in year 8, I became an emo goth kid because I think I was always searching for an identity. And then in year 9 and 10, I had this really weird behavior where I just would never show up to school, right? So I'm just wagging like crazy. And I hate popular people, right? At this time in my life, I'm like, screw popular kids. One day I got detention. I come into class really late. I'm in trouble. And so my arts teacher says, you have to sit next to that girl. We'll call her Samantha. And Samantha was hot, She was hot. Oh my God, Fruity. Like, I was infatuated with this girl, but I hated her. So I sit next to her and blah, blah, blah. We start talking and she says to me, you'd be really cute if you shaved off your hair, because I had long black hair at this time.
Oh, okay.
And, yeah, I've got long black hair at this time. And so I did it. I went home that night and I told Mum in the car, can I shave my hair off? Can I go back to having normal hair? I just want a normal boy haircut. Mum was like, yep, okay. Went down to the barber in Warrawong, got my hair cut. And the next day I was at the back of history class and a boy called Blake, I'd sat close to him this entire time, said, hey, you want to go smoke weed? Never talked to him before, basically. Obviously he didn't just out and say.
Wait.
Yeah, after the haircut, the next day.
They're like, okay.
the next day I'm sitting in history class and that week was the first time I ever smoked marijuana, and I guess I was 14, 15 years old. Yeah.
Damn, so young. Because I'm thinking from my childhood, it's either I was so stupid and I didn't realize it happening, and now I actually think I do realize that people were doing this at my high school. Yeah, because the toilets were a very popular spot, or like behind weird shady buildings were kind of popular spots. I was like, I thought that's just where they like to hang, but I have a feeling.
Oh no,
that
they
I
went
was just
fruity.
I was a goody two shoes, all right.
I imagine you as a goody two shoes. Were you like a girl that would hang out in the library?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I spent some time in the library, but it was for different reasons,
What, detention?
Yeah, detention and trying to flirt with the nerdy chicks.
Ah, yeah.
You see? Yeah.
Did you date a lot in high school?
I dated 2 girls in high school. One of them we'll call, I don't know, Nikki, and the other one Jess. Nikki broke my heart in year 9. Absolutely shattered me. I got yelled at in the school auditorium by her, saying that she didn't love me, and she threw a phone in my face and called me a loser and a piece of shit. And I was crying, and I was trying to act cool and tough, but I couldn't. And yeah, actually that was in year 8, and she just broke me. And then the next girl broke me even more. We'll call her I don't know, what's another girl name? We'll call her
Jane.
I don't know, Jane. I was going to say Karen. We'll call her Jane. And what happened with her was, one day I'm at school, right? And there's a ruckus about the school. This girl's coming and she's a rebel and she's hot and she's, off the hinges. So, this is for me in about year 10 to 11. I don't exactly know when. So, I'm 17. I'm ready to mingle. I'm ready to flirt. I'm ready to go. And so everyone's saying she is at the office. So me being a bad boy, I sprint to the office. I'm like, I got to see this chick. I run to the office and I peek through the hallway. And there she is down the hallway. She's cute. She's looking fine. And she's got a little rebel in her. She's like looking at me. I'm looking at her. I'm alone. She's alone. And then she gets called in the office. I'm like, yep, I am going to hit on that chick. So that day at lunchtime, I walk up to her and I'm like, hi, I'm Nathan. She's like, hi, I'm Jane. And I said, I saw you in the hallway. Bada bing, bada bang. We just started talking. Bam. We were dating within basically 2 weeks of that time. And long story short, she had me gang bashed, gang assaulted, while I was on the way
to
from...
laugh at. I just wasn't expecting it to... Okay.
Yeah, I was jumped on the way back from her house by, I don't know, a bunch of dudes.
Wasn't
and
her
she was
fault,
in the back.
was it? Oh, okay.
No, she planned the whole thing. She baited me to her house. We had sex, and then on the way back home, they knew the route that I would take to go get picked up by my mum. And, you know, I'm walking down the street. I hear a car parks on the other side. These boys jump out. They just beat the absolute fuck out of me. Yeah.
I mean, at least you had sex. You know?
At least I got laid. Yes, ma'am.
You know, I mean, that's something. Like, with a horrible person, apparently. Jesus.
Yeah, she was crazy.
That's crazy. A part of my plan is to bring him back, have sex with him, and then send him on his like way to get bashed. That's so odd.
Yeah, that happened. That's the life I'd be living. Man.
Holy shit. Because, like, the most drama I got into, you know, for dating or something was like in 6th grade where I didn't even know what dating was. And they were like, you should ask Lucas out. And I didn't, that was it. And I was like, I didn't even want to date this person, but I asked him out anyway. And he said no.
Wait, he said no?
He said no.
Oh,
I didn't even want to ask him out.
How old were you here?
What's 6th grade? It's like...
Oh, that's like, you're like 12, 13.
Yeah.
That's young. That's young.
Yeah, but like, I just wanted to fit in with my friends who were all talking about making out and stuff. And so they told me to ask a boy out.
See, in year 6, I have this terrible memory about playing, you know, Spin the Bottle? Where you... Like, it's like one of the
Spin the Bottle in year 6. Oh my God.
Yeah. We was playing Spin the Bottle in year 6. I'm 13 years old. And there was this girl, Jess, that I thought was super cute and she was super popular, right?
Wait. You had mixed parties at year 6?
Oh, what do you mean? Of course you do. What do you mean? Oh, no. And by the way, this is at school. This is at school.
I thought this was like
at
a
lunch.
sleepover nighttime.
No. Even I wasn't allowed that. Oh, no. God, no.
Okay,
Hell no.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But yeah, it landed on her and she didn't kiss me, but she kissed every other boy in the circle.
Yeah. Why not?
Because I was ugly.
Oh, were you actually ugly?
Yeah, I was an ugly ass kid. I was very ugly.
Let's be real. There's only a few cases of good-looking people when they grow up. Growing up is such an awkward, bad time for most people. So surely not everyone else was like good-looking.
Well, to be honest, back then I think I was nervous. I was just that kid with allergies. You know, my face was always red. I was always sneezing. I was just gross, and I was just very badly bullied. You know, I have this memory of a guy called Blake who I absolutely despised. He would line me up on the soccer fields with these massive big grates, you know, like they were like these grates. I don't know how else to explain them on like the fence, you know, and they would kick a soccer ball at my head, and just me, you know, they would just kick a soccer ball at me and just laugh at me and stuff like that. And I'd have to try to dodge the soccer ball, but they'd all just hit me with it and stuff. But later I got my revenge. I broke that guy's arm in 6th grade while we were wrestling. We were play wrestling, but let's just say Cray saw his chance for revenge and I took it and I broke his arm.
How did you break someone's arm?
I flipped him over my back and he landed weirdly and I went snap, and then Mr. Carrot, the teacher, came over and I was crying because I was so distraught about it, but I was happy.
So yeah, would you say you were mostly bullied or the bully?
I was mostly bullied, undoubtedly. Yeah, undoubtedly I was always bullied. When I got a little bit older, even in high school, I never bullied anyone. If anything, I always had a soft spot.
You just broke a kid's arm.
Yeah, but he had it coming. But, you know, for a lot of it, I was just bullied. And even in my later years, I guess in my later years, I wasn't really bullied in year 10 to 11 to 12. You know, I actually became a popular kid in school. And the tables really turned for me. I feel like that's kind of the story of my life is the tables turning a lot throughout my life. Yeah.
I actually always had it pictured, because Craig tells us a lot of stories, you know, so I've heard a lot of stories. I always had it pictured that you were partly the bully and you were partly part of the mean crowd.
No, I mean, I had a group of friends that I met through playing Dota, believe it or not, and video games. And they were my core group of boys, I guess. And we were just like quite popular. And
is this during high school or after high school?
This is in high school. This is year 10, 11 and 12. And we were quite popular and stuff like that. And, you know, I was also part of another group that just smoked a whole bunch of weed all the time. And I was wagging school, going out the back fence every day. I wagged 3 months straight of high school. And then I got called into the principal's office, obviously, because I got caught wagging. And my mum's on the phone, like, crying and begging the teachers to, like, give me a chance and to, like, really help me out. And I had, you know how you have, like, a year monitor of your year, like a teacher that runs your year? He was, let's just say, I don't want to dox him, so the first part of his name was Sergeant. So we called him Sarge. And he was one of the only men in my life that was, like, a really good figure. And he kind of pulled, I guess, the stick out of my ass and put the stick in my ass and made me stand straight a little bit more. But it didn't really ever happen.
Do you ever think about things, because just like me telling the thing about Lucas just made me think of all these other things that I still think about today, and I can't believe still memories that I think about. I'm like, oh my God, why did I do that? I don't understand why I'm still up. Do you have any of those? Because I have a few.
I have a couple that like kind of keep me up at night, to be honest. You know, I guess there are some things that I would rather not share, but, you know, I was really a little shit. Like, I really was. And running around just doing bad. And, yeah, I wasn't a bully in my later years, but let's just say I did see my fair share of, like, causing pain to other kids my own age, you know? Let's just say that. So, yeah, sometimes I look back and I think, well, what was that young man doing? You know, but I see him as lost, afraid, confused. I see him as somebody who didn't have a good home life and stuff like that. My home life was very, very, very bad at those stages of my life throughout high school. My home life was absolute dog shit. You know, I shared a bedroom. I didn't stay in the same bed as my brother, but I shared a bedroom with my brother until I was like 18 years old, 19 years old. Like, you know, and we lived on top of a funeral home for a long time, and my dad was a funeral director, and like he would get drunk and pull me down and, you know, make me, you know, go through the funeral home and look at dead bodies and stuff like that. It was just very abusive and bad. So yeah, that was my home life. I hope you had a better home life. Did you?
I did. Like I never realized that having a single parent was kind of different until I got older. Then I was like, oh my God, none of my friends had single parents now that I think about it. Like I didn't know back then. I didn't really realize.
I never experienced like single parents, you know, like you and Baz are the first friends of mine that have had single parents. And you're also the two that I think are some of the smartest and most put together people that I've ever met. So maybe divorce is great.
Maybe you only need one parent. Maybe two parent is too much parenting, you know, and they ruin it, yeah. But no, I never really noticed. I think my mum told me later that she got a few, I think there was one parent that didn't want me to play with their child or whatever because I came from a single parent home. Like that was it. But like, hey, if your mum that stupid, I don't want to hang out with your daughter anyway or whoever. Like that, those genes will just be passed down. I got
single parent gene. Boom. Gotcha. Yeah.
But no, she didn't it didn't even seem like a big deal. I didn't realize that anything was different. She made it like a very comfortable home, and it was like 2 parents, and I got to have a lot of like alone time and run around and do my own things, and I loved that. I think that's really important. Can't be parent all the time. Gotta be doing
You
something.
can't parent all the time. You gotta learn some independence. Yeah. That's how I feel about my life is I was let loose into the world, but at home it was stricter, if that makes sense. Like when I was under the roof of my family, it was very different. And then when I was out, when I was given freedom to go out, it was very rough and kind of weird, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Duality. A lot of duality.
Yeah, this is so different to me because like the most bullied I ever got was when there was a sleepover.
You okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Sorry, hitting puberty talking about all of this.
Yeah.
3 of my best friends, we were like part of the popular group, but I didn't really belong. I'll be honest with you, I didn't really belong at all. But I was there, and we had a sleepover, and I wrote a nice little note to my mum. I said, love you, you're the greatest mum ever, etc. And and she put it on the fridge, and my friends found it, and they ran around reading it out loud. And I got so embarrassed, and I snatched it off him, and I ripped it to pieces, and that made my mum real upset.
Oh, man.
But that's a memory that sticks with me. That's how I got bullied.
That's a sad one. I don't like that one at all. No. I thought my stories were intense and sad. That's different. That hit different. That
But I shouldn't have been so embarrassed, though. Like they love their bums too. I should have known that.
I've got something to say. I think when it comes to thinking back on your past and like, bad, awkward or embarrassing moments from my childhood or your childhood or, anything like that, I'd say I don't really dwell on it that much anymore. I think, I've had a bad childhood and stuff like that, but I never let that hold me back in my life as an adult.
That's just everything in the past. You can't dwell on anything in the past. No, but it's crazy how much these memories are so vivid and stay vivid for the rest of your life. And it's like, why these specific ones? Why is it when us 4 as a group, us 4 best friends decided to try out for the school talent show, they decided to kick me from the group last minute, even though I knew all the choreography and the lyrics.
Oh, man. Absolutely smoked. Oh, man.
I had to watch for the sidelines.
So for year 12, I had to do a performance, right? And I had to be a part of the choir. And I'm one of the popular kids, so I think I'm way above it, right?
Yeah.
But I am so stage nervous. I get up there, and I've got to sing the national anthem in front of the entire school.
By yourself,
right?
or with others?
No, with 4 other girls, and I'm the only guy up there. And I forgot the words to the anthem. No joke. I just started mimicking it. I'm shaking. I'm sweating. And when I got off stage, all the boys were like, "Why were you bitching it? Like, what the fuck were you shaking?" I was like, "Bro, I'm fucking sick, you dickhead. I've got the fucking fever, bro. Shut up." So, yeah, I used to use little excuses like that.
Even as a young kid, I got allergies.
I got allergies. I was an insecure child. Even when I was like 18, 17, 16, I feel like when I look back now, that boy was just putting up a front because he felt like he had to. That's how I would explain, my behavior I wasn't a bad kid. I was a good kid that was put into bad situations sometimes and had to make decisions on what the situation presented, and sometimes those decisions were wrong and sometimes they were right. I've ran away from a lot of bad moments, and I'm glad I did.
But like everyone is super insecure in high school. Oh my God. Jesus, I had some bad times of insecurity in high school, particularly. Not just because that other stuff was like grade 6, but in high school it was like year 8. I think I started to only like eat an apple a day because I had such bad body issues. Because you'd always see on the front cover of magazines, you'd see like this model or this actress has lost so much weight. Let's show you pictures of her and how bony she looks. And I was like, that's cool, man. I wanna look like that. Like, it was just that. It was no other influence. It was just those magazine covers that got me.
On that, Fruity, not to cut you off, but are you ready for this? When I was young, there was a while there where I thought I was gay. And for the reason that in media, right, there's all these really skinny women back then. And for those who are listening, if you're a bit younger, when me and Fruity grew up, we're 27 now, like the I guess, ideal woman body shape was extremely skinny, like a plank.
Yeah,
and
there was not much ass. You didn't need much ass or much tits or anything like that. But it was just like, yeah, it was a plank pretty much. Mostly was the look.
But I wasn't attracted to that when I was a young man. You know, I was attracted to bigger girls. I liked big titties, big boobies, big fucking asses, hips, and a bit of meat on a woman. So when I was being presented, I'm not even kidding. I had that thought. I was like, man, Megan Fox ain't that fine. I must be gay. I had that thought when I was young. That was about like 17, 16 years old.
Did you hear like did you ever talk with? Is there locker room talk with you and your mates, and they would talk about? Not really.
Not really, actually. No, I would say I was the first person in my friendship group to have sex. I had sex very young, which was very bad. But yeah, I'm not really one for locker room talk, believe it or not. I know sometimes on this podcast I can joke about sex and be very, and all of this, but I don't like getting specific about sex, I'm kind of actually quite private. If you hear me talk about sex, it's usually me joking,
Yeah.
And I've had that ever since high school. Ever since high school, I haven't liked to really openly talk about the specifics of sex in a serious way or be like, yeah, I fucked this girl, or yeah, I did this. I wasn't that guy. No, not at all.
So thinking on that gay thought, how long did that last? Or was it just a thought that came to mind?
I'd say it was just probably a thought, but it did last a while where I was just, I guess, going through that kind of, who am I as a young man? What is my sexuality? But, the media and society was pressing this image on me that I had to like women that was skinny, and it was just very weird. And whenever a woman opens up to me, like you just did, about wanting to be skinny, and wanting to portray an image of health through being so skinny that you're only eating an apple a day, I guess that's my side of the coin.
It got really bad. Like, I got to 39 kilos at...
What?
Which I don't know what is in pounds, sorry, American listeners, but it's very, very tiny for someone who's 5'5". Yeah. It's,
my God.
Yeah, no, it was an actual problem. It wasn't just an apple a day. It was just like...
Fruity, as a man who has gone to the gym, I can lift 32 kilos with one arm. That's crazy. Wow, that is crazy.
For someone of my build as well, like I'm not like a petite build person. It like really showed even more so. That was like when I was 14, I'd say 14. Yeah, I really scared my mum and she didn't want to let me go on camp and that. But I think after I went out on the camp, I started eating a little bit more after seeing her genuine concern.
Yeah, I was going to ask, when did that behavior start to come to
an
end?
I don't know exactly what made it stop, but I think seeing my mum be genuinely worried for me. Some people use that as a, hey, you want attention. Because I know there's some people with eating disorders who want attention and they like that sort of thing. But that was me being like, in that circumstance for me, I was like, oh my God, no, I'm worrying my mum.
You didn't want attention.
I should probably eat a little bit more. And get
was your mother a stern figure, a light figure? Was she very kind? Was she more, and like, did she ever get really angry? Like, how were you, I guess, punished as a child? Were you ever punished? Like, how did that go about? What kind of woman was your mother?
I don't know if I was punished as much, but like I definitely had a good job punishing myself. So she didn't have to do much. Like I would feel guilty pretty quickly on things. Like, 'cause I don't really, she would be stern, she would be, and she would tell me to go to my room, or she'd get angry at me, yes. But I think it was like the guilt I felt about upsetting her or potentially upsetting her was way stronger than anything she could throw my way. I had such a guilt complex. I could, like, you know how you ask your parents for a lift to go somewhere? That was the most nerve-wracking thing for me as a child.
What?
I couldn't do it because I didn't want to, be like, Mom, please.
Okay, I was so far the opposite of that. That is ridiculous. I had no guilt complex at all. I would sometimes get my mum to come and pick me up after a party at 3, 4 a.m. Crazy.
Yeah, no, I got better at it, and I just got stupid and stopped because I kept leaving things to last minute, and that's made me feel even guiltier. And I was like, oh, yeah. I was gonna say, speaking of what was it? We were talking about gay people. We didn't really have people coming out as much as they do now. Because you see it a lot. It's more of a celebrated thing now, but coming out,
which is great,
during our high school years, it was so unheard of. I mean, I'm not sure for your year level, but we only had, I think, we had one, and it was such a surprise, and because we went to a Christian school too.
Went to a Christian school?
Yeah.
Wow.
But it was such a surprise that he would.
Wait, did you go to a private school, Fruity?
Semi-private, whatever that means.
Semi-private.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's so strange. I went to just straight up public school throughout the entire time.
Yeah.
And for me, public school was like all walks of life. You know, I will say that it was very multicultural. It was like people from everywhere, and it was great. I love that about my school. It was awesome. What kind of people were around your local area? Like, I had Macedonian communities. I had Aboriginal communities. I had people from everywhere, and I had friends from all, like, people from overseas went to my high school. People from everywhere came. It was awesome.
Mine was just mostly white people. So many white people. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
That's different than what I experienced.
Yeah. No, it was super, super white. I think we had maybe one black kid throughout the whole year level.
What?
One. I'm trying to think of another one. And his brother. There was two.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
I mean, like, I grew up in a very, like, I guess, more white suburbs.
Wow.
But, I can't believe you had so much diversity.
I had so much diversity. It was amazing. It was so good. That is one thing about my childhood that I will always be so thankful for, is just having such a wide range of people with so many stories. You know, it was just great. It was just unreal. And I would go over my friends' houses from Macedonian families who had just recently come to Australia, and you know, they'd give me burek and stuff like that, which is like a pastry and stuff. And you know, all the Macedonian kids that I was friends with, Portuguese friends that I was friends with, they would always give me their lunch and give me their breakfast, and I was just like, I had all different kinds of foods, and it was just awesome. And like, just, yeah, talking to them about their parents and stuff, like, we always just had so many good times together. And we'd go up into the bush, and we'd like mountain bike ride and stuff like that up in the bush, and we'd get machetes and cut down our own tracks so we could BMX down the hills and stuff. It was just such a good, I had a very good childhood and a very bad childhood in the same vein, you know. I was given a lot of freedom to explore and to digest and to kind of, like, you know, do whatever I felt I wanted to do, which was great, you know. In my backyard, there were these big banana trees, and I had a forest of banana trees, and anyone who's ever been around banana trees knows, like, wildlife loves them. There's spiders around. My friend, his backyard was filled with tarantula holes, and we just walked through them, like, with barefoot, like, without a fear of spiders. I was very much like that kind of kid as well. Very, like, grimy and dirty, and I'd have, like, what do you call them? The dragon lizards in the backyard, and blue tongues and snakes, and I just never feared anything. I'd pick up spiders, I'd pick up lizards.
Yeah, no, you don't fear things in your childhood. You maybe fear, like, girls or boys, but, like, you don't fear, like, heights. I'd climb to the tallest tree and you wouldn't wouldn't even think about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wasn't, I've, even today, the only real fear I have that is like, when people talk about heights and stuff, I hate tight spaces. Despise them in every single way. I hate the idea of being crushed, which maybe relates to having such a wild childhood where I was given a lot of freedom. I hate the idea of being stuck in like a tube that is like closing in around me. Ugh. That's pure nightmare fuel.
But I mean, I guess when as a kid, you would have been able to be in a tight space and you would have been fine.
No, not really. Even when a kid, I have this memory of, and it's like pure nightmare fuel for me. Me, my brother, my sister, and a local kid from the caravan park. We were riding our bikes right through the park, and we got to these big drains, these giant drains, and they're filled with mud. And, you know, they're big, right? So they're not that claustrophobic, but we start to walk through them. And as we start to walk, the mud gets sludgier and sludgier, and we start to panic, and I get my foot out of the mud, but my brother and my sister and our friend are stuck in the mud, and they start crying, and we can't get them out, and it's starting to rain, and I'm starting to shit myself, and I'm trying to pull them out, and I can't help them, and, you know, my little sister and brother are like crying, telling me to go get mum, screaming at me. So I get on my bike, and I start to ride, and then I get really worried that I'm going to be punished. You know, I don't want to go home and tell dad what I did. I wasn't meant to be playing in drains and shit like that. So instead I come back and, you know, we get through it and I pull him out of the mud. But I have a real problem with getting stuck. I hate being stuck. I hate tight spaces. Ugh, yuck. You know, I'd rather jump out of, I'd rather have a fucking bungee cord attached to me and jump off a cliff.
Did you ever really get in trouble as a kid? Like, really in trouble?
By like cops?
Oh, I was going to say by your parents, but okay, sure, cops.
By cops, I would just always run. So I never actually got caught. There were times when I would
Why
be
were you
walking
running from the cops, Craig?
Let's say, and I'm only going to say it in this way, I had things in my bag that I shouldn't have had. And, you know, I would walk around with my mate Ivan and stuff like that. And, you know, late at night, you see like a cop paddy wagon and stuff like that. And, you know, 3, 4, 5 boys walking around with their hoodies up with backpacks that look like they're filled with something, walking down. Like they're going to stop you. So you'd usually let the cop car kind of like pass you. And then you'd like keep turning around, looking, trying to not look inconspicuous. But they always turned around and you'd always have to run. Or they'd flash their lights as they came towards you. And you just bolt, you just gap it, you just split. And so, yeah, I just always gap it. I never actually got caught or got in trouble by the police directly.
But by
my
your
brother
parents?
did. Oh, and by the way, my brother did because he stole a chocolate from the store and he got in big trouble. And the cops brought him in a paddy wagon outside the front of our house to teach him a lesson. And I think it did work. But, from my parents, I got punished very badly by my nan and my dad, like in awful, cruel ways. You know, just terrible ways. Were you?
No, not really. No, just to your room, that sort of thing. Nothing
Just to your room?
Yeah.
Wow.
I can imagine it being different without saying any further. I can imagine how different that is to yours, what you got.
Yeah, for me, it really is like, I don't know. It's strange. I want to say I don't like to identify as a child who was abused, if that makes sense. I don't like to say my name is Nathan and I was abused as a boy because I don't like that to be an identifying feature of who I am today in any way, shape, and or form. But let's just put it this way. I was definitely locked in closets. And I'll tell you one thing. I'll share this with you and the audience. So, and I've never shared this before. I think I've only shared this with you and Marcus and other people in private. But, you know, there was a room in the back area of my house and we called it the rat room. And it was called the rat room because if you were naughty, you would be put into the rat room and my nan would lock the door on you and you'd be banging on the door to be left out and you'd turn around and my nan would collect porcelain dolls. So I'd turn around, there was all these like porcelain dolls all over and you'd be shitting yourself in this cupboard and there would be like bags full of old clothing and stuff and it just smelt like dust. And my nan would like scratch on the wall saying the rat's gonna eat you, the rat's gonna eat you. and stuff like that. And I just would be shitting myself. And then to be let out of the rat room, you'd have to stop crying. So that was really, really, it was awful. Yeah, it was awful. But I would like to say that for me, it's traumatic in the way that I understand what happened to me, but it's not traumatic in the way that I no longer hold any resentment, anger, or hate in my heart for my nan or anyone who hurt me as a child. I don't do that in my adult life, and I don't identify with the moments that were bad in my life that happened to me, and I never will. I never will. That product of me being put in such nasty areas happened because the same thing happened to my family, and I am a better person than that, and I will never do such a thing to anyone in my adult life, because I know better. I know how it feels. You can either go the way of, you do that to others and you become the bully and you become the abuser, or you can learn from the lessons and realize that, hey, I am a better person, and I have grown through the pain, and now I'm happy. I'm a happy adult 27-year-old man, and that's why I share a lot with people, but then I get really worried to share those points because I don't know how they're going to be perceived, because I don't want it to affect the way people see me.
It doesn't.
Now.
It doesn't.
I hope not.
You don't.
Yeah,
you don't let
not.
it affect you. You don't bring these things up. You don't do it. It's just a story. It's something that happened that you just remember that has no impact on you who you are now. And
yeah, that was very nice to say, Fruity.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, man, like, just on that point, thinking about our parents and then our parents' parents, and like punishments over the years to children have been like dramatically decreased. Like, you hear stories about people that even just parents that get like what was it, in like schools they used to have like
stick.
the ruler.
Yeah, the ruler.
Like,
yeah.
imagine that going down now. A teacher hitting a kid with a ruler. Like, imagine that.
I do not believe in hitting a child at all. Not even a tap. But maybe that is because of my,
well, no, I think that's what everyone thinks right now. That's why that's
not
a thing
thank
anymore.
God. Thank Christ. Thank God. Yeah.
One more question I want to ask you about your high school before we wrap it up, because I realize we've been talking for a while.
Have we? Oh, we have to.
Yeah.
Damn. Sorry for talking. So we learnt more about me than I think you this. Damn.
Yeah. Did you ever have high school dances or anything like that?
Yes, and I didn't go to maybe the first one or two. And I was wagging and skipping class so much that I didn't even go to camp for the first 2 times. And then in the third one, when I was older, I was too busy smoking weed, getting drunk, walking around the streets. And even though everyone else from my year went to this camp, right? I didn't go because I was hanging out with some older boys, and I never went to those things. I only went to one, and it was very tame and lame.
Oh, you never went to camp and that stuff?
I didn't even go to my formal.
Oh.
I did not go to my formal.
Really?
That's how much of it. I didn't go.
Because you're such a rebel.
Go.
You didn't go.
I showed up. Wait, no, sorry. I did show up. I showed up and I went there. I danced for a little bit and then I ditched it so quick. It was crazy. It was at the school auditorium and yeah, it was just crazy.
You saying the word camp reminds me of all these camp-related stories that I have, but alas, that cannot be shared or revealed today.
Camp stories should be next. Camp stories.
Well, you didn't even go to camp. You went to one camp, you said.
No, we got to talk about you more next time. We got to talk about you. I want to know so much more. Yeah, now everyone knows about my childhood. Now we need to do Fruity's childhood, and we're going to go deep.
Deep. I'm down. All right, thank you guys for listening, and thank you those who are listening on YouTube. We've got Bradley Pinsky who says, Cray says, you got to clap them cheeks, dog, Lufu, or at least ask her how her day was. I love the juxtaposition between the way your minds work. Very opposite mine.
Yeah. Oh, very opposite. It's weird. Our childhoods were so different. obviously, and you know, everything about us is a juxtaposition, but it's like kind of cool as well. And it's the duality is great. Yeah. Green Tornado 4. No, Green Tornado from 4. Fly in my face. Hey, an idea that I had for you guys is to read some unsolved mysteries or conspiracy theories on an episode on the podcast. One of you could read out a short version of some unsolved mystery or unsolved murder, and then you could discuss it. Just an idea. If either of you guys are interested in it. Love the podcast.
I love that
awesome.
idea. We should do that. Green Tornado.
That is actually really cool, Green Tornado. That's cool. Thank you, dude.
Do we solve it? Oh, no.
We will solve it.
We'll solve all these unsolved mysteries. That's what
my God. I do love unsolved mystery podcasts and stuff like that. They're really good.
Like the ones that Marcus has been sharing me, the ones that where the person is like, how I survived this, and you don't think they're going to survive, but they're obviously talking on the podcast, so obviously they survive. Like, I like those, but there's also those ones where it's just like really messed up too. We could do those ones. You want to do the messed up ones?
I'll do the messed up ones.
Okay.
I'll go
we
deep.
can do that. All right. Okay. Yep.
Well, thank you for being all in. Thank you. Always go all in and be all in all the time in your life. Trust me, bro. It's wicked.